right, everybody, and welcome to Hard Rock History, episode number 10. This is unbelievable. Part two. Part two. We got this guy a second. He actually came back a second time. Again, drummer, producer, author, drummer of the Rods, Carl Kennedy. Thank you, Carl, for coming back, my man.
I'm happy to be here. I was so pumped from the first part one that today I took a shower, I brushed my teeth, and I don't do this for every interview. I put on cologne.
Oh, we can smell it from here. Very
Yeah,
nice.
no, I put on
This
some
this
good,
interview's in
good,
Smellorama.
yeah,
We
good
could,
man scent for you guys because I was really pumped about the interview.
Before Tommy gets into his question, just quick update. I found your Manowar demos,
Okay,
and it was Shell Shock and Battle Hymns,
okay,
and the bones of the songs were there. Your everything seemed to be right there for what it was, and your name on the cassette was Call with a K, and
yes,
Kennedy as in John F.
that's right. Yeah, there are
for
more
alter
songs.
ego.
I don't remember how many we did, but they're out there somewhere. But anyway, it was cool. You got to hear them.
Really cool. All right, Tommy, take it away.
Okay, Carl, I wanted to pick up with a personal favorite album of mine in your catalog, and one of my all-time favorite singers,
All
Shmulik,
right.
also known as Sammy Abigail. If
Uh-huh.
you could tell me how you guys got involved with him, because he was pretty much a guy that jumped around with a lot of European bands like Picture and Horizon, and uh,
Right, right.
I thought it was a strange matchup when you got with him, but it produced, I thought, a great album, which everything he was on, I thought was great. So if you could give us the background on that.
So, which album are you talking about? You're talking about Heavier Than Thou with the Rods, or you're talking
Yes, sir.
about the Abigail album?
No,
Okay,
the Heavier Than Thou.
so Jack Starr, I had gone to Europe with Jack Starr, and I guess Shmulik was hanging out with Jack Starr and Arnie Goodman. You know Arnie Goodman, everybody from
Oh, very
Zigzag
well. The
Records?
original
Yeah,
owner of Zigzag.
yeah, great guy. So Arnie, and I guess he hooked Jack up, whatever happened, but Jack Starr came to my house. They drove upstate to my house in Cortland, and Shmulik wound up living with me. I had a guest room. He started living with me. And so it was a case of, it was all a fluke. Like we talked about, went in the studio, Shmulik would go with me. We're doing Heavier Than Thou. So I said to Dave, he's got an amazing voice. So he goes, well, let him sing a song. So he sang a song, a Rod song, and I played it for David over the phone in the studio. He's like, he can sing the whole album. He goes, this guy's great. Let him sing the whole album. David was working on his restaurant, which is now, I think he's in his 41st year with the Hollywood restaurant in Cortland, New York. Great place. So that's how that happened. So it was just simple as that. David just heard his voice and went, wow, let him sing on that album. So he sang on it. And it was, Shmook and I butted heads a couple times. One was diction. And I'm like, you know what? You've got to correct the diction. You can't, you've got to, it's English and just can't have some of the accent. That's such a heavy accent. And at one point, he was arguing with me. And so I just said, okay, well, this is the way it has to be sung. And so he was out in the studio on the microphone and I was in the control room. And I said, okay, well, let me know when you're ready. And I started reading the newspaper and left him out there.
Hmm.
And eventually he goes, okay, man, we do it your way. Okay, we try it your way. Okay, what? I'm singing. What? No bullshit. What? So he did. And so one of the first articles that came out, first reviews, was saying that it was a great album. And Shmulik did a great job on it without the usual diction problems. And he goes, man, you were right. You were right, man. I'm like, okay.
So that was
So
always so I guess it was noticeable with everyone on other things that he came out with.
it was, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, he had a
Absolutely.
heavy Israeli accent.
He did. And plus, he was a man of the world. I mean, he lived in France. Lived in Germany. He lived in the United States. He lived in a number of countries.
He was in the Israeli army.
Mm-hmm. Isn't everybody in Israel?
That's true.
Yeah, it's kind of mandatory. Um, but anyway, so we stayed friends. Then Craig Gruber and Tom and Amarato. Do you know Tom and Amarato?
I
You
don't.
know, Craig Gruber from Gary Moore and Elf and Rainbow. But Tom Namarato, he played with as a group with Freddie Villano, the bass player in the Rods, called American Mafia. But he played. Tom played with Doro. I think he's on a live album, but he toured with Doro for a year or two. And Tom was a talented guy, but he was young, and so the poor guy. I've apologized to him since because I said there you were with me, Craig, and Shmulik, three bastards, all opinionated, and don't play it like that. Play it like this constantly for the guy. And I play guitar, so I had my ideas, and Craig had his ideas, and Shmulik had his ideas, and Shmulik was really talented. Shmulik had some things, and there's a reason I think why Shmulik, and I'm not trying to talk crap about him, especially because he's gone now and can't defend himself, but he uh, he was not easy to get along with, and his thing was I don't know whether it was passive aggressive or what it was, but he was very much straight. Like if you were playing something and you wanted to have a syncopated accent in rehearsal, he's like, "Okay, man, that's cool. Yeah, great, great." And then he would come back the next day and say, man, I cannot feel it. Let me ask you a question. I ask you a question. I cannot feel it. And he worked with John Hahn, and John Hahn, who's on this new album with Billy Sheehan and Mike Santaciera, we laugh about it. Any of us who've known Shmulik, Doug, Bobby D, any of us who work with Shmulik, we all have the same thing. It's the same story where he's good with it and then comes back in the next day. Let me ask you a question. I can't feel it. I'm like, that's not a question, but okay, that's cool. And so, we did that group, and I think I'm going to release those. I have the rehearsal tapes, which are pretty good, with Shmulik, Tom, and myself and Craig Gruber. So I'm going to release them at some point.
Oh, please do. Yes.
So it's just some cool stuff. But I think the thing was with Craig, he was great at writing riffs, but not great at writing songs. So we weren't giving Shmulik a lot to build on. And Tom did have great ideas, but we were all obnoxious jackasses. And so he's this young kid, he's got these great ideas, great player. But let's try it this way. Let's take it back 20 years and do it our way. So it didn't work out. But anyway, it's great. We did one gig with Shmulik with the Rods. Craig Gruber on bass, Duck on guitar, Andrew Duck McDonald, and David Feinstein on guitar. And we did one show. It's on YouTube. It's Day in the Park, and you can see we're a pretty good band. But it just didn't gel, and it didn't gel because Shmulik wanted to be more the voice, and David was like, David's the one who talks to the crowd. David's the face of the Rods and so on. So
Right.
it was a little bit of a clash, and Shmulik wanted to talk to the crowd more, and I was like, yeah, that's the end of that. But what a talent!
He was also in a band with
Sorry,
Jack Starr called Guardians of the Flame. It was kind of like, I guess, and his vocal performance on that is incredible. That's I think one of the best hard rock albums Jack Starr ever did.
Yeah, no, Shmulik was a great singer, and when Picture wanted him to go back with them, go to Holland. Now I did an album with Avigdor, right? Did you hear that album? Do you know that album?
Oh, I have everything he's ever been on.
Oh, okay.
Including even when he recorded a demo cassette with Harpo.
That's right, in my studio. He also did another.
I didn't even know that. Wow, that's incredible. That stuff on that he did with Harpo was great.
Yeah, Fire Your Fire or whatever.
Yes.
And he, I know I'm losing my train of thought. He was, we did another session. Yeah, we did it, but we did another session at my studio with John Price, and that stuff is great. And but John, I don't know what the story is with John. It doesn't. I keep wanting a CD so I can put it on my wall with all the other 100 CDs I have. And but it's hard to get one from him. I don't know. He's kind of guarded it for some reason. I don't know if that's the right word, but that's a really good. It was a 5-song EP, but it's really good. But he's never really marketed it. And
was it ever released?
It was never released.
Oh.
No, he guards it closely. I think if you go to johnprice.com or whatever, you'll find it there, and maybe you can purchase it. But I mean, he lives in my town. I run into him with John. I really like a CD. Yeah, I'm going to get you one. Okay. I was like, 20 years ago now. I still haven't gotten it. So if you're watching this, John, I really would like a CD. Okay,
So
but
he did this
Shmulik had a
with Shmulik was
powerful.
the singer.
Shmulik was a singer. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, and really, but what a powerful voice he had. It was, he could blow you out of a
oh,
room. And
yeah.
the other thing about Shmulik, we rehearsed at Alfonso's in the back, no heat upstairs, no heat. We had like a kerosene bullet thing, just choking us all, killing us. But we would start early in the morning, like I say early, like 10 a.m., and we would go all day long. Shmulik never held back one time, sang his ass off all day long, full volume, and never said a word. Came back the next day and did it again. Unbelievable. I've never seen a vocalist with such a strong voice. Powerful.
Why did he never stick with? Was it his personality? Like he's really a nomad. He's been like in about 10 different bands, but never lasted more than an album.
Yeah, no, that's right. I think with Shmulik gave me a thing. I had it in my studio. I have it around here somewhere, but I had it for years because we would break each other's balls. And he gave me a thing that said, and because we would laugh, we would talk to each other that way. I would say, it said, "Be reasonable, do it my way."
Right.
Uh-huh. And that was so I had that for years and still do somewhere, but that was our joke, be reasonable, do it my way. And that was Shmulik. That was, it was his way or no way. And eventually, if he didn't do it his way, bye, I'm leaving. And
Okay.
it's the same with, like, I know we worked with Duck McDonald, and we worked with Freddie, and it's worked with a number of musicians in this area, upstate, as well. And same deal, just can't get along with them. Let me ask you a question. I can't feel it. And as a musician, and you bust your ass, and you're like, "Are you sure this is good? We want you to be happy. Are you sure this arrangement's good? This works. You like this? You're good. It's great, man. It's great. Balls, man. It's balls. It's great." And then the next day, let me ask you a question. I can't feel it. And
Right.
I used to say it was timing. He just did not get syncopated timing. And I'm like, so instead of it being like a three count, it had to be 1, 2, 3, 4, now. And that was his feel. Anything less than that, if your grandmother couldn't feel it and come in on time, he couldn't do it.
Right.
And but what a talent.
I had one other band I wanted to talk to you about before I turn you over to Paul, and that was Attila, who did an album called Rolling Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
Huge favorite of mine, and it came
Great.
out. It was reissued at some point by a label called Heaven and Hell with
Mm-hmm.
bonus tracks. I've never been able to track down the reissue. Were those bonus tracks from the first album or a prospective second album?
Those albums, and that was unauthorized. I own the rights to that. But what was I going to say? Heaven and Hell. He's a really good guy, and he presses, he'll manufacture X number of CDs, and he'll give the band 50 to sell on their own for whatever money they can make and have. So it's not like it was a huge money maker, and I was screwed out of my royalties. I do have the original 2-inch tape. I was going to transfer them at some point and do a digital release, but no, I don't think the bonus tracks had anything to do with me. I think they were recorded. In fact, I think the guys told me about it and sent it to me. It was good. It was a really good band. It was on Shatter Records, I
Yes.
believe.
Yes,
And
I have the original vinyl and the original CD. I was never able to get that reissue with the bonus tracks because it sold out like immediately and just vanished. And I knew you were connected. I think you produced it, right?
I did.
You did,
Yeah,
yeah.
they were really talented. Shatter Records was an independent, and unfortunately, um, the label head had a little bit of a problem, and money would kind of disappear. Uh, and
Yeah.
and so they should have had a bigger push. They were really talented, and everybody who's heard that album loves it. They
Oh,
love the
yeah.
band.
Great
It's just,
vintage 80s metal album, American
but
metal
yeah,
album.
but of course, like everything, if you don't have promotion, how do people know about it?
Right.
And then you just die. You're on, like, walk into a store and you see, oh, Attila. Well, I don't know that band. I'm not going to put my
Right.
hard work, money on that. But yeah, shame.
Yeah,
I'll
they
see.
were a word of mouth type of band.
Yes. I'll see if I might have a Heaven and Hell. I have to look for it, but I'm sure I think his name is Kevin. You can contact him. I'm sure he has something lying around.
I wrote them. It's what's it, Jeremy Hand and
Oh,
Gary
Jeremy.
Schaefer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote both of them, and they said they had no more copies of it. So,
Yeah, I
um,
believe it. That's
yeah,
the deal usually with those guys, and they're honorable guys, so they probably,
no, they're good guys. I know them a long time,
yeah.
especially
Yeah.
Gary.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, I could turn you over to Paul now.
That's it. You're done. Like that's it. I get dismissed.
Well, I have a something to do with my son, so I kind of got to.
Look,
He,
I'm a girl
I got
dad,
to
and
exit
now,
stage left.
yeah, I'm a girl dad. Always was, and now I'm a grandfather, and I get it totally. Family first.
yeah.
I got
So
two grown daughters too, but this guy is he takes up a lot of my time, so I got to attend to him.
yeah, you're lucky. Enjoy it.
Thank you. A
Yeah.
Hey
pleasure
Carl,
talking to you.
let's
You
backtrack
too.
with
Bye bye.
Jack Star. So do you guys are you gonna go Tommy now or
Yeah, I'm
you
going to go, Paulie.
okay. Thanks
Bye
for
bye.
being with us, Tom.
Take care, Tom.
See ya.
Bye bye, Cole.
Bye. So when you with Jack Star, were you on a break with the rods or was it just a project to do? What was the deal with that itself?
That's a really good question. I'm trying to think when that was. That was at Music America. No, I think I was, the Rods weren't playing. Like David was working on his restaurant, getting that up and running, and I was producing. And Gary, because I had brought Kim Simmons lived with me also from Savoy Brown. So Kim Simmons came up through Arnie Goodman. So Kim was living with me. And so as it turned out, Kim started a band with some of my friends, Duck McDonald and so on. Gary Bordenaro was playing bass, and they wound up going on the road as the Simmons Band. But I think they also had bookings at Savoy Brown, and so that's what was going on. We weren't playing live, so I was producing, and each of us had our own projects. And Gary went off and toured with Kim Simmons.
Because
So
that was
that's
right
how.
after you did you had you cut the In the Raw album, right? So
Mhm.
was things the tour cycle was done and everything with you guys after that?
It,
After
it
doing
really
In the Raw?
it really wasn't. I mean, we still continued to play for a while after that, but we had no management and no agency, and so gigs were few and far between.
Okay.
So, that's how it was. It was a wind down, and then we were all busy, so none of us were pursuing trying to find an agency. So we're just kind of doing our own thing.
And then Jack Star approached you. Did someone recommend you to him?
I think Barry Coburn at Combat and no, wait, let me see, Passport. I think it was what's his name from Passport, and I can't remember his name. We did two albums for him on Passport. Then he wound up getting scammed, I heard, from Sony. Like, did a deal, and then Sony pulled out and left him in the lurch. And this company, Passport, folded. I believe that's the story. Marty, I think was his name.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm amazing. Amazed that I can pull those names out.
And you're working now with Rhett Forster too.
Right. So that was the first time with Rhett Forrester and Paul Kane. And so that was a fun project. It was a good project. I think what he's done now with Out of the Darkness, which was an album I named, Out of the Darkness 2, I think was a great with Giles Lavery.
Oh,
Giles did
Giles,
a
yeah.
fantastic job with it. And so, and Paul Kane played. Jack is a really clever, creative guitarist and a great blues guy and a great soloist, great songwriter. In the studio, he's not the tightest guitarist, and that's where Paul Kane came in because he's super tight. So it worked out great, Paul. Jack did almost all of. I mean, he did all the leads, but he did very little rhythm
And
on that guitar.
Did you tour on that album
We did one date in France
with Rhett?
with Rhett, Le
Wow.
Bourget, Breaking Sound, which I meant to tell Tom. He said 84, and I said 86, but he was correct, 84. So please apologize to him. Of course, the guy cut out and left me hanging here in the interview, right? Just us now. So I mean, I don't know how much of an apology he deserves, but yeah, no, he was right about that. It was 84, and so we did that. So it was Paul Kane, Jack Starr, Gary Bordenaro on bass, and myself. and Rhett Forrester is lead vocalist, and Neil Turbin was there as well. And I think Neil did a couple of songs, and it was cool. It was great to hang out with everybody. You know, we were in France for a while. I was there for 3 months because he was supposed to do an album with Jack, another Jack Starr album, and our entourage got dropped off at the hotel, and Jack went to south of France with his girlfriend and whatever, and his parents lived there, his mother lived there somewhere, and we were left there on our own, and everybody's
How does that work out that you and then were you proposed to do more gigs than that one gig? Was it a booking type of thing, or you went out there and tried it out and
no,
see what goes on from there? What's the deal with that?
no, we went out there to record Danny Terabes, Christian Terabes, who are dear, dear friends. I've been back to parties. In fact, I hope to go again soon. At some point, you know, before before I'm dead, to go see them again because I love them. And but they were going to record the album for Jack Starr. They had a banker, and so Max Velberg, Studio Max Velberg, and we were going to record there. And then Jack was gone, and the guys were very unhappy, livid. And so, in fact, I was we wound up sending Neil to the American consulate because our tickets were I'm trying to think, they were one way, or they were trying to think what the problem was with our airline tickets, but we couldn't just, they weren't open ended, so we had to deal with it. So Neil came home, and then we went in the studio. Gary, Paul, myself, we stayed and we recorded Out of the Darkness in the studio, or what was it? Gone with the Wind.
Hmm.
So that's how that came about. But it was supposed to be a Jack Starr album, but those guys got really, really upset with Jack. And back then, as 3 months went on, living in Paris for 3 months, I learned enough to, combien, and I learned to ask certain things to be able to function in Paris where I could go get food. And my first day, I had $100 in francs, and I held it up. I bought a pack of gum and put it out, and they gave me a couple bills and some coins. They could have given me like $6.20 back for my $100 bill. I had no clue.
Right,
So
right,
by
right.
the by the time by the time I left, I was in great shape. I mean, in terms of speaking and living there, took the metro. We had a driver. It was a great time. Danny and Christian, like I said, are great friends, and they treated us very well.
So were you
And
getting like a per diem of living there at the time, or
yes, yeah, they put
okay?
me up in a hotel. I think Rhett lived with them, but I had a hotel. And every day they would ask me what I would like for breakfast, which we had it was a limited menu. But every
Hmm.
day I would have a baguette and hot chocolate. It was like a dream breakfast, right? Like bread and chocolate. That was great. But so that's how we did that album. Of course, when it came time to mix, we ran out of time, and then the 2-inch masters disappeared, and the banker had them, and God knows what, because we could have remixed that album and made it really fantastic. But unfortunately, the 2-inch tapes were gone and remain gone to this day.
And how was dealing with Rhett? Professional, wild man, because you heard stories about him too.
Again, talking about the dead, but I loved Rhett, and we had a lot of laughs and a lot of fun. Rhett was There were two Rhetts, and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Group and Mr. Butler,
Mm,
Mr. Forrester. He was when he drank, and he drank a lot and did drugs, but like, I remember everything was nice and we were all having a great time, and then he was drinking. Get me another beer, you fucking frog. And in these really very lovely people, and he's calling them frogs and abusing them verbally, but they knew, it was because he was drunk.
yeah.
And then when he was sober, but there was a guy who I would say kind of like a David Lee Roth in David Lee Roth's heyday. Not Let's not confuse it with David Lee Roth of today. But when David Lee Roth, when he was young, early Van Halen, he had a lot of charisma as a frontman, and that was Rhett. Rhett would
Right.
walk into the room; he was a star. And when we played Le Roger, the crowd, it was a festival crowd, it was a huge crowd, and the crowd loved him. He had them in the palm of his hand. Um, he was just a natural. But unfortunately for Rhett, drugs and alcohol, it just took a toll on him, sadly. because and that's how he died apparently. Apparently, drug deal gone bad. And I got stabbed or shot and drove into the police station. But the I remember him telling me he was in Texas somewhere and he was getting on a plane. And you never know because when you're involved with drugs and drug deals, all bets are off. But he said he got stabbed and he was on the plane and his lung collapsed and they had to do an emergency landing. So,
And
really
that
talented guy.
and
Another
that
one
did, and
taken.
that if that didn't teach him, it was inevitable that something worse was going to happen in that way.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, you
Yeah.
know, I remember
Headed
seeing
towards
them at
that
the
place.
Palladium, Riot, the Restless Breed tour. It's just and to go from like Guy Speranza to Red Forest is a major difference in vocalists too.
Right.
But that was such a solid album.
Hmm.
It was unbelievable. So now
People still love Riot
oh yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
still love Red.
and just to get back to Jack Starr, Mike Torelli, and Todd Michael Hall,
Hmm.
both singers for him that ended up being
Yeah.
in Riot,
Yeah. It's not funny.
as it
Very
is
incest.
today.
That Long Island crew, though, they're pretty incestuous.
So now you come back in '84 and Let Them Eat Metal. You start working on.
I guess.
That's where we see,
Okay.
and then you recorded the Rods live, and then you did Heavier Than Thou.
I want to say the Rods Live was, yeah, okay. Okay. I know the Rods Live, we were doing a date at the Calderon with Virgin Steel, with Motorhead. I'm trying to think when we recorded that, we were pretty much on tour. So when we recorded that live album.
And then he like other than Motorhead, like Sabbath or it's especially with David being the cousin with Ronnie. Was there? Did you guys do any European tours with Ronnie out there?
No, no. In fact, we didn't do anything with Ronnie um, at all until like right before he died. Literally, Ronnie came in and sang two songs. One song that I had written the code, and a song that David had written, uh, "Metal Will Never Die." And he sang it over 2 days, and uh, and then he went. Shortly after they went to New York, and we went to see them at Heaven and Hell. Heaven and Hell at where was it? Radio City,
They
maybe.
were a musical, yeah.
Yeah, and it was an unbelievable show, and you could see Ronnie when they started doing the Heaven and Hell. The crowd started singing. It was almost as loud as the band. You could see Ronnie was like, "Wow!" Everybody in the place just started singing. It was crazy how
I
cool
was
that
there.
was.
I was there for that show.
Oh,
It was
you were there, so
unbelievable.
you know what
Yep,
I'm saying. It
yep.
just took it over. And
I was shocked that they did "Lonely Is the Word." They never did that live ever.
hmm,
And that floored me out of the whole set list. My mouth was like, "Oh my God, they're actually playing this live now!" And everything sounded great. It was fantastic, fantastic.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we're hanging out in the dressing room before a show in Binghamton, and it's amazing sometimes to see vocalists like you, because I've worked with so many great vocalists, and so everybody's different. But Ronnie, we're all talking, we're hanging in the dressing room. So getting close, he goes over this three shirts hanging on a hook, on a rack, and he takes off the hanger, puts the shirt on, takes a couple sips of David knows the beer. It's some German beer or something that Ronnie liked. Takes a couple sips of it. He goes, "Okay, guys, let's go." We all go to the stage and he sings his balls off like he's
Hmm.
18 years old, and he's wailing at the end, screaming his balls off at the last song. And I'm thinking, oh my God. And they were so loud. I'm standing by the monitor and he would solo the snare drum and it was like boom, boom, punched in the head. Like it was so loud. And I don't know how Ronnie, I mean, a semicircle of monitors. And David said he couldn't venture out from that because Tony and Geezer was so loud. And
Yeah, John West told me he never used in ears. He had the
no,
monitors. That's how he heard everything going on surrounded him. Yeah, that's what he
that's
said.
right. Yeah. And what was he going to say? Am I going to tell Geezer or Tony to turn down? Excuse me. I know you've originated heavy metal. I know it's supposed to be loud, but could you just bring it down a little bit? Like, so But yeah, Ronnie was amazing. But no, we never did any dates with Ronnie then. I think I think this there was a period of time when Ronnie had his own path, and I don't think he and David they became very, very close in the last 15, 20 years um, of his life. But David was out there, they were working on material, talking about doing another Elf album. I know David was asked to join Dio, but with the restaurant, he just couldn't, unfortunately. And but there was a period of time when the Rods started and whatever that he and David were not really tight, and so you know, which I always point out to David because David's always getting cousin of Ronnie James Dio, and I go, it's true, and you were bandmate of Ronnie, and you loved him, he was a family member, but in reality, history will really write you as what you did with the Rods, not just that you
Right,
were Ronnie's cousin.
right.
And you did that on your own. We did that. The two of us did that without anybody's help.
And to
I
be
mean,
honest with you, if you didn't see it in the face, because they do look
mhm,
very, and
they do.
as David's getting older, he's looking more and more like
Mhm,
they're looking like each other. You would never, because like you change, his name is completely different. He never
mhm.
went on the moniker of that, other than like you say, knowing that they were both in Elf together. He carved his own path.
Right. That's right. I think we really, we forged our own way with the Rods with really no help from Ronnie. But God bless Ronnie for singing those two songs. It was like a huge thing for us, really. And for me, it was a highlight of my career. David didn't have to give Ronnie my song to sing. He just felt it was the right song and he did it. And I thank him all the time because that was a huge thing for me as a songwriter to have Ronnie sing a song that I wrote.
Hmm.
Just it was a huge thing. But Ronnie was just, I can't say enough good about Ronnie. He's such a great guy. Tragic.
Any memories on the Hollywood LP?
I do, yeah. Again, Duck McDonald, when Neil Turbin left Anthrax,
Well, I
they
want to
brought
talk
in,
about your producing too. I definitely want to
okay,
talk
great.
about that.
So
Absolutely.
we needed a singer. Matt Fallon came in, did a week with Matt Fallon, and I said to the guys, I don't think he's going to get you. We're trying to get to a major label. I don't think he's going to get you to a major label. So they said, okay, go talk to Johnny. I told Johnny. Johnny goes, okay, put the guys on the phone. And so they go in the conference room, and 2 seconds later, they go, Johnny wants to talk to you. And I go, what's up, Johnny? He goes, put him on a bus. Click. Like that was it. So poor Matt Fallon had no chance of, working on whatever shortcomings he may have had. It was done.
Did
So
you
now they're
hear
in.
him? Did you get to hear him sing
Oh
with you?
no, I produced him for a week.
Oh, okay. And
I actually I
would
have
you
rehearsals.
what'd you think about him? So did he do like Metal Thrashing Mad? Did he do what the stuff that Joey was doing at the time too for the Armed and
Yes,
Dangerous
he
EP?
was working on stuff for the new album, for Spreading the Disease and
Yeah, yeah,
Armed
yeah.
and Dangerous. And I have rehearsal recordings of him, which I should release at some point as well. But so I called my buddy, Andrew Duck McDonald, and he goes, "This guy is on Star Search, and I worked with him on something." And he goes, "He's really great. Call him." So his name was Rick Cottle, and Rick Cottle came in, and what an amazing voice, and what a great guy. He actually teaches karate. He's been teaching a karate master or whatever. I don't even know what's called, but
Sensei.
he's a pardon
Is he a
sensei.
sensei?
Sensei, yeah, he's sensei. But he still wants to record. He's always asking me, "Hey, here's a song idea. I want to record again." So, but he was unbelievable. He came in and he was those. If you listen to the Hollywood album, those vocals are amazing. Just an amazing vocalist. But there was no band around it. It was I had been at the time when we recorded. I knew that things were tough for us, and I knew that we needed to safeguard the future to whatever extent we could. So we had a lot of material written, which is a lot of what that material is, which is why I suggested we call it Hollywood and the Rods project as opposed to an album, because I mean it really is a Rods album. Me, David, and Gary, and with the new singer. So it was really the Rods, which now it's under the moniker of the Rods. But I just felt it would be deceptive to the fans to call it a Rods album. And but we had a lot of material, and I recorded drum tracks. Did all the basics, and I had all that stuff in the can. So when it came time, we had no record deal, which actually we had the deal with Passport. But so that's how we had that material. But yeah, Rick was great in the studio, fast, and we'd just blow. We'd all look at each other like, "Wow, what a voice!"
And no, 2 albums you made with
We did
as
2 albums for Passport, Heavier Than
yeah,
Thou, and the Rods,
right.
the
And
Hollywood Project.
any touring with this group too? Did you
No,
guys? No
not
kidding.
no gigs at all.
Wow.
Which is a shame because it would have been a great lineup.
So why during all this time too? So now I want to get to your producing now. So, your credits include Armed and Dangerous, Spreading the Disease, Exciters, Violence and Force, Overkill, Feel the Fire, Possessed Beyond the Gates. I mean, you're in the epicenter of the beginnings of real threat of the thrash metal scene at the
Hmm.
time. So why didn't Johnny Z pick you guys up on the label that way and have you tour with the go out with these bands too, or you be the ambassadors to these young up and coming thrash metal bands.
Yeah, I mean, we were the old guard really at that point. You know, it was a case of Johnny and I were good friends, and I think I mentioned this. Johnny and I were like, really great friends until the end. We spoke 2 or 3 times a week. We spoke for length on those calls, and just loved him. But he and I were good friends, and I knew the inner workings of things. I knew that Johnny flew by the seat of his pants a lot, but he was such a great, like I would say, he created such a backdraft that he just dragged everything along. He just didn't. He was just a force of nature. But I was worried that, and the guys he wanted to manage us, and I wanted it, but I was like, I don't know. I just don't. I didn't want to ruin my friendship with Johnny. I was worried that, that would happen, and so we didn't. And it was a mistake. It was my fault because I was trying to protect my relationship with John. And and also the band, I wasn't sure where we would land in terms of like everything he had going on. I mean, at that point, all those bands had blown up, so Johnny was very, very busy.
Right. And then you might have just got swept underneath the rug with all that other stuff going on.
That's right.
But were you always recommended as a producer? Like say like so same thing. So now they get rid of Neil and I was at the Roseland show when Metallica gets signed by Elektra. Raven is doing Live at the Inferno. Raven was the headliner for that tour, and Neil, that's his last gig as the vocalist for Roseland. They kicked his ass out after that. They were done with them. So were you there for the auditions also for with Joey Belladonna coming in, or did you get the call that the guys are coming up to you when they're going to
Oh
start
no.
recording the EP?
Yeah. So what happened was they were still in the studio, and Matt Fallon was gone. And so I called Duck and I say, Duck, hey, we need a singer. I'm trying to call everybody. He goes, there's a guy up here. He does Journey. He's big into doing Journey stuff, but he's a really good vocalist. And so he goes, I'll give you his number. So I call Joey and I say, hey, Joey, I'm doing this band, we're producing this band Anthrax. Would you consider coming in? Now, he did not know thrash at all. It was new. It was new. A lot of my
Hmm.
friends would hear the stuff. They go, oh my God, that's insect music. Like some of them were like, what's that? It's horrible. Now I'm like, I'm afraid to tell you, it's the changing of the guard. As a musician, you're going to find yourself left behind now. But so Joey came in, and Johnny and I worked with him on the vocal. It was the fast tempos, a lot of changes, lyrics. Took a bit, but he got it fast. And I remember the guys like have the back of the studio at Pyramid. There's a door that would lead to a bathroom, which then lead to the other offices. So everybody had access to that bathroom. And those guys are in the bathroom, which was a big room, and they have the door cracked, and they're looking out and they're listening. And of course, after maybe a half hour of working on songs, they're like, he's in. They talk to him, and you know that was it. There was no. And to me, to this day, Joey is the voice of Anthrax.
Yeah.
Like it just works with what they do. And it's not to say John Bush wasn't great, but it just wasn't the same for me.
I love the Fistful of Metal album. I think Neil was perfect
And
for the
Neil,
time of what it
mhm,
was. You know,
Yeah.
the songs are strong, especially the songs are strong enough that they did Panic, they did Metal Thrashing Mad, you know, to show they record they make Armed and Dangerous, you know, and so who was the idea of doing the acoustic part at the beginning of Armed and Dangerous? Did Dan and
That's
Scott come up with that?
I'm trying to think. I remember I made a pick with guitar, the end of cutting off guitar strings and taping them to the pick to get a brighter sound. And but I can't remember who came up with it. I know I was like the sound idea was my idea, but I don't know that I
Okay,
came up with that.
I mean, that's a
I don't,
great opening to a song, and you
I
produced it
don't,
amazingly. Sound still,
thanks. I don't like taking credit for things I didn't do, you know.
still sounds fresh today, Carl, when you listen to it. Really, it was
That's
done
good to
really
hear.
well.
Yeah, I thought that was a great album. I worked really hard on it. And back then, John had no money, so I was paying the per diems every day. I had a book, which I have to find it somewhere. Scott named it the Knot Book, and every day they would sign, so they have to sign for their per diems because I was paying them out of my pocket.
Hmm.
And which of course John always paid me back. But at first it would be like Dan Spitz would sign Dan Spitz, that would be D Spitz, that would be DS or whatever, or Scott would be Scotty, and that would be Scott, and then it would be Scott Knott. And then pretty soon it would be Eisenhower, you know,
They would change the
JFK.
names up.
They just changed Mickey Mouse, like they just, you know,
Now,
anything.
did they live with you at the time? Were they shacked up? Or they go in a hotel? Where were they
There was
staying
a
at the time?
there was a house.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a house rented. We had a rental car, one or two of them actually, and then they had a house, and
And
yeah,
whose idea was it to do God Save the Queen?
that was theirs. I mean, those guys. That was when I first started hearing like they were already into Chuck D. They're into rap back then. Billy Milano would come up, and they were at one point they were working on SOD, but they were really into that stuff. And God Save the Queen, punk song, and it was a great idea.
Did they cut the SOD in your studio?
They cut it at Alex's studio,
Oh, right, Perez, right.
Pyramid Sound.
Yeah. And the same thing now that gets done, and then did they automatically go into spreading? Or did it come after they
No, we
tore
were done with
Joey?
spreading.
They tore
We were done.
Joey around first, right? I guess they went on tour.
Right. And then,
Yeah.
no, actually, it went right after. It was very quick because they asked me if it was okay if I kept all the sounds that I had dialed in, the guitar sounds, drum sounds, whatnot. And I said, of course. And so they did SOD very, very quickly.
And how did you feel about as these tracks like ARR, AIR, and I mean that too is just epic. That's just an epic thrash album.
Yeah. Charlie was just a monster drummer. He spent the night at my house a few times. And first time I'm like, you're going to be modern drummer cover guy because your drumming's phenomenal. He was a very humble guy. But he also was a great guitarist. He wrote a lot of those riffs for that.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And the same thing now with Exciter. You were asked to produce them, the
I
violence
was.
support. Yeah, and
And
that too. Oh my God, what an album that is. I mean, phew.
such great, really great guys. I'm good friends with all of them, and so talented. It's a shame they've had some issues. Like John Ricci doesn't really stay in the band. Now he has his own project, and now Al has his project.
Al's gone. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, Dan, I don't really know the inner workings. They never had any arguments at all when I worked with them. But years of on the road and whatever, it takes a toll on relationships.
And what about Overkill's Field of Fire? Having those Jersey maniacs coming up to you.
They were exactly right, Jersey Maniacs. They were great. I mean, they came in fully formed. I did an interview with Blitz a while ago, and just recently we were talking as well. And but they came in like I changed very little. I think the biggest thing that I did with them was try to capture that energy on tape. And the other thing was Rat. A young kid came in, partied too much the night before the session, came in, his legs were shot. It's like an athlete. And he just wasn't able to really dial it in. So we had to have a conversation, and he went and got it straightened out and came back in and then played great. So, but it was fun. I mean, they had their little issues. It was clear they did not get along with Gustafson. So, yeah, there was big big row for a while with that, and I had to sort it out and straighten them all out. Like we got to work together and take
And
this issue somewhere else.
what was the problems in that sense? I mean,
I don't
you're a
really.
brand new band. You're recording your first album. I mean, you should be giddy as shit and happy that this is working out. And
Yeah, Gustafson seemed like, and I've certainly seen interviews, read interviews with him. He seems like he's a hardcore Jersey boy. Takes no shit and not afraid to speak his mind. That rubs people the wrong way sometimes.
mm,
So, but, I mean, I didn't see any weird clashes of going after somebody other than they were all like it was him against the band. They were just having a problem, but they sorted it out and got done with the album. But Gustafson's an amazing guitarist,
yeah,
super talented guy.
and the same thing. And then the next album, Alex gets to snatch him again. So Alex was
Mhm.
just grabbing all your second album after all your debuts.
I mean, that was a case of, and Alex is like a brother, and we've been through a lot and done a lot together. But Alex had the advantage of the studio, and Johnny Z made deals with Alex's dad, who owned the studio, and part of the deal was, Alex being engineer, and Alex was there, and the bands loved Alex, but Johnny was indebted to John because he allowed him to rack up the studio bill. So it was that and the combination of the bands loved Alex, and Johnny was like, "Hey, we got to use Alex," and they did, and they were happy, and everybody it worked out. Alex is a great engineer.
And you got to do Possess second album.
Hmm.
And did you go out to California for that?
I did. I went to Katati,
Right.
Prairie Sun.
And how did it work out with those guys?
I mean, Jeff and I are still friends. I don't really talk to anybody else. I don't lost track with everybody. I know Larry Lalonde, with Primus,
Hmm.
but we don't really, those guys. We did pre-production while they were in school the uh, before Easter vacation. Then we went to Katati and they recorded it on the Easter vacation. That's how young these guys were,
I know.
still in high school.
I saw them on the Seven Churches, and it looked like just teenagers up there.
Yeah, yeah.
Young kids.
Hmm.
Crazy. Now you guys get back together. The Rods. So now you went through your producing stint, and then I guess you
Hmm.
guys formed back in the 2000s, right? You guys
Yeah.
got back together. And did you get the phone call from David saying let's do this again?
We had done our good friend Al Falso, who owned Falso Music. It was like a second dad to me, great friend. But Al passed away, and so they asked if the Rods would play a benefit. So I said, sure. So we didn't, I don't think we even rehearsed. I think we just went up there and played a handful of songs. And so, it went pretty well. So after that, then David had Third Wish. I came up and he was playing me the album, and I was like, wow, this is fantastic. And so then we decided that it was like, hey, well, maybe we should do a Rods album. And that's how it came about. It was basically that David had done that Third Wish with John West,
Yeah.
and it was so great. And then, he got the bug to record, and I was all up for it as well. So that's what we did.
And the same thing John said. They did a rehearsal in Ithaca show, a warm up show. They went out
Hmm.
to Vakken. They did that. They opened up for Dio, and then they were going to go on tour with Dio. But the deal was that they were going to give it was a pay or play. They wanted
Hmm.
them to contribute money into it, and like you said, David had the business going on, and he's like, and which I don't blame him. Like, why would you put any of your fucking money into to be a support slot, especially when
Yeah,
you are
no,
an
and it was,
established person.
and if you saw the Vakken thing, and I think I mentioned that last interview about how that came about, the Vakken thing, and why I didn't attend. And it was, if you see the band on stage, it was Feinstein, but everybody was in front of him. John was in front of David. Um, what's his name now? He's gone. bass player, Jeff. Can't think of his name. Great bass player, played with Foghat. But he was the same thing, really cutting in front of David, and it was anything but a band. It was musicians who were looking to be recognized on their own, and
Right, right, right.
it
Yeah.
wasn't a team. It was not, in my opinion, it was not good. The only one who should have been out front was John and David. Those were the only two who should have been out front.
And
So,
you could tell by David's body language too, when playing wise. He like turned a lot to the drummer. So like I heard Third Wish live, and they could have used a couple of more rehearsals.
mhm,
It was very very raw.
right.
For what it was. I'm like I said, I love that album. I'm happy that's out there. We can even enjoy that. Like you said, the Day of the Park. As soon as I get done with you, I'm going to YouTube and watching that Day of the Park with you guys on there.
Yeah.
You know.
But I mean, that was so for David to keep, and he was paying the musicians. It wasn't like they did it for free. It wasn't like they were all
Right.
part of the band. Every musician got paid, and it was coming out of his pocket. In fact, David told me that he got a big bill for a hotel stay. And he was like, okay, done.
Right. Because everybody takes advantage then too.
Right.
You know. So now
Yeah.
you
Which is really a shame because if they'd all stuck together and really gelled as a band, that could have been something they could have
absolutely,
taken on.
absolutely. I mean the album's one. I say Third Wish is one of the most epic songs. For me, the Cozy Powell, John West, and the Feinstein Third Wish. Those are the albums I go. You want to hear somebody sing amazingly? This guy could have been really something in this. And the same thing, which is a sin, that I said to John. I said Royal Hunt never played the States. It was all European and Asia.
Hmm.
So they never even broke here.
Right. No, they didn't.
So like John said,
John,
he would go off over there and be the rock guy, the rock star, and then come back to Cortland, and have his
exactly.
gig and do what he's got to do.
Yeah. I mean, John's another guy who's been in a lot of bands, and but always great work.
Yeah, solid singer.
Hmm.
And I really said that should be mentioned a lot more in the echelons of great singers. You know.
I agree. I agree.
So again, so now we got Vengeance came out. So now, are you guys now just recording albums and then doing a couple of shows here and there? Nothing. 2011, you did Vengeance.
We did.
2019 broke.
We were doing regional shows at
Yeah.
that time. Yeah,
You,
we were doing.
you never
We
come
did.
down to the city, New York City. Is there just a booking problem or?
It was a case of it was really money. It was really money and opportunities to play. So, we had a big crew. It just was never like come down and play, but there was no money. So
Like even like the Rattle the Cage, you knew the newest album that just came out. Like you couldn't get a gig at Gramercy or Sony Hall or you guys couldn't play the Iridium or there
we
was no.
played. I mean, where did we play? The that little club when Ross came out. Same Fighters.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, so we did play there. That's in Brooklyn, but
yeah,
I was always worried to play those other places that we would just bomb. That we wouldn't draw enough people.
yeah. Well, you guys would definitely be good as a three band package too.
Hmm.
That were all you guys definitely could have played Sony Hall. Sony Hall which was formerly the BB Kings. That's that.
Oh yeah.
So BB King's left there, and their management and everything went to Sony Hall.
Okay.
It's a really nice venue. Like I said, I gotta to see the Rods. I gotta drive 4 hours, 4.5 hours to see the Rods.
I know, and boy, that's not worth it.
Well, what it is. Like I said, I gotta. If you guys play a gig in the fall, I gotta tempt my wife with ice wine. And to
That's
see
funny.
the American side of Niagara Falls to go to a gig.
That's funny.
Do you want to talk about your book?
Sure.
Is it
I
everything we
am.
just talked about?
No, there's a lot in the book. In
Right?
fact, there's so much in that book that they had to cut. We had to cut 180, 155 pages, something like that. And by the time we were done, I think I mentioned it in the other interview, but I thought when Doc contacted me and said he would transcribe my audio recordings, I thought, okay, we can do this. Because I've had a couple of other people want me to do a book. And so I got a transcription program and I was trying to type. And when you're typing, it's not the same. When you're dictating it, it's got your natural feel and what you're saying. And when you're typing, you start to edit yourself. So I'm like, okay, that's not going to work. And then the other was in Russia. The other uh, interviewer was so knowledgeable, had so much information, and we did it. We did it over several interviews like this, and said we should do a book. And then we talked about it. And we were going to do it, and then he said between the time difference, language issues, this just won't make sense. So anyway, when Phil said that, I thought, well, that's great. And I thought I can get this will be done in 2 months. Like I'll dictate, and I dictated so like each chapter, whatever I did, I would dictate the chapter. I'd think about, okay, this was with this album and what happened, and dictate it all and send it to him. And I thought this will be 2 months. Well, it was 2 years.
Mm.
2 years because you have to edit. It's the biggest pain in the balls, and and you want things right. You don't want to get sued. So all the dirt, I kept out. Not that there was any dirt with any artist I've ever worked with. Just in case anybody was thinking about suing me, I just want that disclaimer out there. But and then it took a while. Then we had one. I can't remember who it was. The first person who that we said, why don't we get their opinion on things? Their take. So it was one person, and excuse me. We're like, that is cool. Maybe we should start asking everybody that wants to contribute. So I said, carte blanche, say what you want. I won't edit it. I won't redact anything you say. I don't care. You can say I'm the biggest jackass ever. That's totally cool. It'll stay in the book. And so that's what we did, and everyone contributed. And to this day, I've not read, and I hear they're really good. I've not read any of the things that people have written about their experience working with me. Even our former manager, I had dissed and had spoken very bluntly about my dissatisfaction with some of the things, and he had his take on it. Which I after reading his side of it, I thought, you know what, he has points. I get that. I can concede some of those, but I let him have a whole dissertation in the book and didn't change a word. Let him present his side. Totally cool. But it took a long time, and now we're the book is what is it? It's digital. I'm trying to think what that's called. I can't think of it. But now we're going
An
to
ebook.
an ebook. Thank you. And now we've already it's done. They're just waiting for me, which maybe I'll try today, to do a update on the book. But we're ready to go to Audible.
Okay.
So we'll release it on
And that's
Audible.
called
That was
Tales of a Wild Dog, too. We got to
Tales
mention
of
the
Wild
title.
Dogs.
And you can get that on therods.com.
Rods.com. You can go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, anywhere you buy any kind of any books that
Well,
way
no, you go
online.
to therods.com and you can get signed drum heads from Carl.
That's right.
You can get a vinyl. You can get a lot of other things on therods.com. So definitely
I
go
just
check
got a
it out.
I just got a shipment of the souvenir drum heads, and just in time for Mother's Day. Nana is going to be so thrilled.
I got your the cross the Canedy black and white drum head from you a while ago.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
That was
I
really
made a request and you got David to sign it for me too.
that's right. That's rare. But now I've just got some in. That's the first time in several years that we've had those.
I got that when you first put it out. I bought it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the support.
Oh,
Appreciate that.
absolutely, absolutely. But like I said, big fan of yours. And let me ask you, how are you today drumming wise? Does it take a little while for you to warm up, or are you spent after like say after a gig? Are you spent? Like I need to relax, or you still feel you have your energy?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I thank God for that because I was playing like I just did this last track I said for the album with Billy Sheehan and Mike and John. And it's a pretty fired up track. And John was like, "Man, God, that you're just playing great." Billy thought it was a great track as well. And no, I don't get fatigued. But when we're going on tour, I spend like a month doing cardio just so I don't like at the end of my drum solo, I'm not lying on the floor, like paddles coming toward me,
Right,
clear,
right.
So I do that. But no, over the years, the stamina, and also you learn to conserve energy and expend it where you need to. So far, I'm still playing and playing at a pretty high level.
So you never had rotator cuff issues playing cymbals, or you kept everything level to yourself too.
I have a rotator cuff issue, which you can see I have full range of motion. I have a little bit of a weakness if I'm out to the right, like if you put something in my hand and it's heavy, it's going to do this. It's just going to start to drop after a minute
Mm-hmm.
or two. But I fell off a stage. I had my hands down on the stage, and that's where my rotator cuff came in. I tore my rotator cuff, but it was an aluminum stage, and it had been sprinkling out, and it was wet, and my hand was on it, and it went, and I was like Superman flying, bam, off the stage. I was like 4 feet, landed on my rotator cuff, and
Oh boy.
that was bad news. But the surgeon said, you don't need surgery. You have full range of motion. You just have to exercise, which I do all the time, constantly working my arms. My arms are probably now in better shape than they were 20 years ago because every day I'm using all these things I bought, and my weights and whatever constantly. I carry it around the house with me.
That's great. And the name of the new band with Billy Sheehan?
We don't have a name yet.
Okay.
We haven't decided. It's going to be a name. It won't just be a project name. It's going to be a name, a band name. But
Is
we
is
haven't.
possible touring with this band also? And
We've
thoughts about
talked
it?
about that. Yeah, we've talked about that. I know Billy's up for it. John's up for it. Mike is always up for it, and I'm up for it. But again, we'll see. Maybe we can do a short run and a bunch of dates like Billy did with the Fell.
Right.
It just depends. Just depends on the album.
Oh, maybe I'll
I
get to
think
see you then.
that would be really cool.
Maybe
Yeah,
you come down to the city then.
and then maybe we would be in the city, and that I love the city, so it'd be cool to
I'll
come and
bring you for
play.
pizza.
All right, from where?
But I'll bring you to Brooklyn for pizza.
Oh, okay. Because up here, there's no pizza like that. Like there's one place here in town, and they kind of make a New York style pizza, but you never know what you're going to get. One day we're all like, "Oh, this pizza is great," and then the next time you get it, like, "All right, garbage. Just put it in the garbage now
Ain't that
because it's
something?
horrible." Yeah, I'm like, "What the hell?" I even asked them, like, "What happens here? Like, why is it different? Like from one week to the next?" I'm like, "Oh, no, it's not. It's the same." I'm like, "Yeah, okay."
My neighborhood, that guy Barstool, that Dave Portnoy, you know that guy?
Portnoy, yeah, I
Yeah,
know
that
him.
Barstool, he does the pizza ratings. He would go
Oh,
one bite or whatever it's called. So anyway,
oh
he
yeah.
got this giant following. He would go to everybody's pizzeria, take a bite, rate it, and so forth. So my pizzeria, I've been eating since I'm 5 years old in Brooklyn. He was 2 blocks away from where I lived, and I would say, and he makes the best fried calzones you ever have in your life.
Oh,
They're tremendous.
I love calzones.
Oh, they're amazing. So I said to him, I said, Gio, I said, don't you want this guy? He goes, no, I don't need I don't need him. That's where he goes, I don't need him. And he's my age, you know? And sure enough, enough people got in his ear, and Portnoy went there, and normally he was given pizzerias 6.3, 7.8, 8 something. He gave my buddy play 9.3. He rated it.
Wow.
And then after that, it was done. Now he's part of pizza tours come around.
Mhm.
I would go in. I go into Brooklyn at least once a month. People from Chicago, Las Vegas, they're making pilgrimages to go to
Mhm.
his
That
pizzeria.
sounds great, though. I'd love some.
Oh well, like I said, you get down here, I'll pick you up and we'll
All
definitely
right. And I was thinking tonight I wanted going to make some homemade pasta. I haven't had it in a long time.
we went to
Again,
Rome and
it's
did that. That was a trip.
mm, I have it's Speedo time is coming up, so I got to really watch it. Can't eat too much pizza.
Yeah. Don't we
Like
all?
like anybody would want to see me in a Speedo.
Listen, I go on cruises. You wouldn't believe half of the things people wear, and you just
Mhm.
go with God. You go with that. You're looking at them.
God bless. That's what you give him a God bless.
My wife's got a decent body, and she's like, "How is that person wearing a two piece?" I said, "Hun, because there's the confidence,
Hmm.
or or
And
or
that's
or
what
or the I don't give a shit."
that's the way it should be. You shouldn't care. It should be comfortable, whatever you want.
Right, right. Like I said, listen, people are gonna judge you in your mind in their minds anyway. So who gives a shit what they think about it that way anyway?
That's right.
You know. So Carl, I think we got where we got to get on part two. I really want to
Yeah,
appreciate you, and like I said, when the new project comes out, if you want to come back on, you're more than welcome.
I would love to. Yeah.
And the audiobook, whatever you need to promote, you have an open door policy here. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all the music that I've grown up listening to.
Well, thanks. I mean, that's why we were doing it, so I appreciate it. So
And
cool.
yeah, and believe me, it made an impact with all of us. All right, everybody. So listen, also we have a new Facebook page I created, Card Rock History Show on Facebook. Please, everybody, go over there and join. That would be nice. I could get some numbers up on there, and Carl's interviews are going to be up on there, and every interview I'm going to be doing after this will be up there too. So we want to thank everybody for coming. We say rock on, peace out. Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you, man.